This is my computer science A-level coursework. Here we have my program here. So this is a Python Pygame program, which also has matplotlib and a few other things in it. So this is the title screen. So if you click something like this, then we have the menu. On here, we have a play and an exit button. If we press the exit button, then the program will pause, and then we have the option to kill the program. Like that, perfect. We run it again. In the background of the menu, we have a simplified version of the game being played with just the basic mechanics, but it's quite a cool visual to have a basic version of the game in the background, and I think it makes a much better menu screen. Okay, so once you go through the menu screen, we have the mode select screen. So here we have a sandbox version, easy and hard. So in sandbox, we have a few different things we can play around with. So by default, for example, the population size is 100, and if we click on it, we can see what that looks like here. And this is just playing through the game. So you can see how now it's nighttime, so all the nodes or the particles or the people, you can call them, go back to their houses, and they have families allocated. So every night they go to the same place. But if we go back now, we can change the population, for example, to 200, which then when we click play, there's twice as many nodes. And you can see here, now that we have 200, the virus is going to spread a lot faster. And also you can see the family units are larger, so the houses are a little bit bigger. So they're all trying to get back to their house now, and yeah, you can see a lot of people are going to die. We can put that to 100, and you can see there's max size on it. Can't put anything higher than 999. Or we can start with, like, for example, a 50% start infection rate instead of a 4%. And then you can see half of them are starting off infected, so that works nicely as well. Or we can change the infection rate to like 1 instead of 0.2, which means pretty much the whole time if they hit someone, they're going to infect them, with a few exceptions. You can see that now pretty much anyone who gets hit gets infected. So we can see the collisions over here. Boom, boom, collision, infected. Okay. And there's more things we can play around. We can play around the speed, for example. Now they're all super fast. This is like what's happening if everyone had jets. And you can see how much, you can see pretty much everyone gets infected almost instantly, which means we have a crazy high death rate, which means you can see how many people are dying. Way more people are dying than recovering, which obviously is not good. And there's a few other things we can play with. But that's the sandbox mode. That's the sandbox play menu and the sandbox settings menu. But pretty simple things, nice little ways to kind of play around with things. So if you wanted to see, well, if we double the population size, how does that affect the virus? But what's more interesting, I think, is the game mode. So we have 2 game modes at the moment, easy and hard. So with easy, you're going to start with 100 people, $1,500, and an infection rate of 20. And it's going to start with 4% infected as well. So it's quite an easy game mode. Now on the left, you can see our graphing software. This red line is the people who are infected, and it updates by default 5 times a second. Green are the people who have recovered, so they've gotten the virus and now they've recovered and they can't get the virus again. Black is deaths. So you can see the rate of the black one increases about the same rate as the red one, but about 5 days delayed, which is similar to how it works in real life. So now you can see how the infection rate is going down. The death rate has a lot reduced. Almost no one is dying now because the infection rate is so low, so the healthcare can keep up. And you can see now it's coming to a plateau. We have 1 infected up here at the top right, which I can't see him. Oh, there he is. He's a little small guy. And that's the end of the simulation. So we can see we've got a score here as well. And the score is determined by mostly how many people died. So 20 people died. The amount of money we spent comes into it as well as the end infection recovery rate. Obviously, if you had one person that was infected the whole time and that was it, then you'd get a crazy high score. But that's not going to happen. You can see with easy mode, you can pretty much let it run by itself, and most of the time you will win. That's the point of easy mode, is you're supposed to just be able to let it really. But obviously I can do stuff to increase my score, which is obviously the point. So if I improve healthcare, for example, that reduced my money by quite a lot. So I accidentally clicked back. So if I improve healthcare, for example, that's going to reduce my money by a lot. But what improved healthcare does is it increases the recovery speed. So now people who are infected will recover much faster because they have access to better healthcare. Now, this is one of the strongest things. It costs a lot of money, but it means that people have less time to spread the infection. And you can see my testing how each individual factor improves the infection. if I quit it and start it again, you can see masks. Masks are and lockdown are both something that costs money over time. So the whole point of masks is the government has to pay for people's masks, so it costs them money over time. It costs them about $2 a second, I think it is. Masks will also change the infection rate from 20 to 6.33, so that's quite effective at reducing the infection rate. As you can see, it means that the infection rate normally would go up to about 30 by now, but instead it's plateaued at 20, which means the death rate is much lower. So as you can see, the particles move in a pretty realistic manner. They bounce off walls appropriately. They bounce off each other as well with minimal glitching. They can also be given a target. So you can see when it's nighttime here, then they all go to a target. So that can be coded in as well. They all have a speed, size, weight, age, health, position, direction, vaccine doses, family, etc. So, for example, the weight determines how big they are. So you can see how some of the particles are really tiny and some of them are quite big. That's determined by weight. Also, the weight and speed determines how fast they can turn. Age and health, that determines then how likely they are to die to the virus, as well as some other factors. Death rate is also determined by the total infected population as well. Then, of course, we have hard mode, which if I leave hard mode to go, then chances are I will lose. Sometimes you can get lucky and not lose. But you can see the infection rate is 25 instead of 20. We start with less money. More people start out infected. And it's just generally a worse time. There's also more people as well, so it's more crowded. You can see how more people get infected now, so we're getting towards 50, and yet we died because the requirement on this one is 30. So we got 31 deaths, we lost. Let's give it another go and try not to touch it and see what happens. I really am a massive fan of the graph. Like, it updates 5 times a second and just looks really cool how it goes up. And it looks exactly like you'd expect it to on the news, which is really awesome, actually. So you can see the infection rate's going up, so we're going to see a massive spike in deaths at any time now. 3, 2, 1. Yep, the deaths should be spiking up. Perfect. Well, not so perfect for them. And although the wave is starting to end now, I think we're going to lose. If one more person dies, I think we're going to lose. Yeah. I can do hard mode, and I will do healthcare. I will vaccinate twice, and I'll put on masks. So if the money comes to 0, then I'll lose. So I'm going to turn off masks as soon as I get close. But with the improved healthcare, infection rate being 6, and the recovery time being increased, we'll see that the infection rate decreases a lot slower to 20 this time instead. I think it went to 40 last time, resulting in a much slower death rate increase. So we should come out scot-free here with without us losing, and we should have a good score as well. As you see, this family over here is completely not infected, so that's interesting. I'm going to stop the masks now so I don't die. But how the isolation works, so I'll do lockdown as well, it basically forces everyone to go home at night, which can work well sometimes. In this situation, it'll work well because this family over here won't get infected. But as you can see, the middle one, they're all going to get infected because they're all part of the same family. But you can see as the masks and the healthcare, what it's done is it hasn't decreased the amount of people who get the virus because the program works through herd immunity. But as you can see, it will extend the infection, which results in a lower death rate, which is what my program is aiming towards. I think I've outlined pretty much everything in my program. As you can see, I just got away scot-free with 100 points because quite a lot of people actually died in the end. But that's my program. It's pretty simple in how it works, but I think it's very effective. Yeah, thank you for listening.